G'day guys, welcome to episode 97, filming from my place in Mossman because I am locked down writing this next book. Today we talk about how much you should invest in a startup business, my opinion as to crowdfunding platforms, and why if you've ever started a business with nothing, or you plan on starting a business with nothing or very little capital, it is by far the best thing you will ever do.
28 and I'm trying to shape history, pulling from the sky for some strength to take with me. Line up the stars, fly away quickly and push the world forward like a tidal wave hit me. I ride the wave swiftly, I fear no man.
Welcome to episode 97 of Ask Jack D. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for the hundreds of questions we're getting rolling through and answering every single day. Not that we're answering hundreds of questions every single, we're answering one a day. We're getting a lot. So thank you guys and appreciating the conversations that are going on after each episode. In this episode, we take a question from Instagram. Kylie asks, how much should you personally invest into your startup, or is crowdfunding a better way to go? This is a really good question, Kylie, and the answer is quite subjective, right? It's very personal, it's very contextual. There's a lot of variables in terms of what stage are you at, how much capital do you have, how much experience do you have? Let's assume you're at the beginning of your journey with no or very little capital and it's your first business, right? Because you can invest anywhere from zero, which is what I did for the first, well, I borrowed 20K from a bank, but other than that, had no money for like my first 3 or 4 years in business. Or you can invest as much as you'd like, right? Provided you have the capital or have access to the capital. So if we go back to, so the answer is invest whatever you're personally comfortable and able to invest. But just understand this, in the early days, if you have ever started a business with nothing, or you're planning to start a business with nothing, or very little, it is probably the best thing you've ever done or the best thing you'll ever do. And the reason for that is this, when you start a business with nothing, you are forced to become incredibly resourceful, and you're forced to become incredibly innovative in terms of how you create. So much of entrepreneurship is about the science of alchemy. How do we start with nothing and turn it into something? If you've ever started a business with nothing, you have had the luxury and the privilege of having years of taking nothing and turning it into something. Whether that be how you get product, whether it be how you engage people, whether it be how you do your marketing, right? Like when you have very little capital, you are forced to throw thinking at problems as opposed to money at problems. The best case study for this I've ever found is a guy called Jack Ma. He founded a company called Alibaba. Alibaba is bigger than Facebook. Jack Ma is worth more than Zucks. Mark Zuckerberg is obviously far more popularized because it's Facebook. But Jack Ma started Alibaba with nothing. No business experience. He was previously a maths teacher in high school. Started Alibaba with nothing. And his competitors, the people he was competing against in that market with that business at that time, had hundreds of millions of dollars of cash in the bank. I don't mean they were valued at hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean they had hundreds of millions of dollars of cash in the bank. And Jack does a lot of talks around this. And he says, while they came up against challenges, they would throw money at problems. When we came up against challenges, we would throw thinking at problems. And trust me, thinking and innovation will outperform capital expenditure 9 times out of 10. Right? When you can think your way through challenges and when you can think of new and creative ways to be resourceful and new and creative ways to better speak to the hearts and minds of your consumer without spending money, that is the best thing you'll ever do. So if you can only invest $5,000 or $1,000 or 10 grand or 50 grand, enjoy that, right? It'll be hell. Like it'll be the most challenging thing you've ever done. Let's not romanticize it. It'll be incredibly challenging. However, in terms of your development as an entrepreneur, it will be the most valuable period of your career. Let's talk about crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is really cool. The crowdfunding, and I know there's a different name for it where there's equity involved and all that. I'm not as informed, nor do I really look at that sort of stuff favorably. However, if we talk about crowdfunding in terms of pre-sales and buy my thing and get a discount and help me raise money so that I can actually get it off to the manufacturer and kick it off, is an exceptional, it might even be the best way to raise early stage capital. And there's a few reasons for that. Before I go into it, check out one of our members, a guy called Shane. He recently released the Cord Roll. He went on, what was the platform he went on? Kickstarter. And we have no relationship with Kickstarter. And tried to raise $6,000, through his crowdfunding campaign. And let's just roll the first 50 seconds of his video and then I'll tell you the outcome of his campaign thus far. Roll that now.
Hey Kickstarter, my name's Shane. I'm a pilot, surfer, skier, designer, and a firm believer in all things simple. I travel a lot and I love listening to music wherever I go. For me, it lets me connect to the pulse of a city and it cements the memory of every adventure in my mind. But I became so tired of forever having to untangle my headphones. I could have sworn that every time I put them in my bag, it's like they came to life and wound themselves up into a ball, entangling my keys, my cash, and everything else in sight. It was as if their mission in life was to stop me listening to music. And the amount of times I've begged people in shops and bars around the world to charge my phone has got to be illegal. I mean, whoever remembers to take their charging cable out with them. And even when you do pack your cables, finding them is always a mission. There had to be a better way. I wanted to make something simple, functional, cool, something easy to use, something I could take anywhere in the world, something anyone could use, whether commuting on a Sydney bus or backpacking through Africa, something I'd never leave behind. An idea grew out of my frustration. I got samples of every material imaginable. I spent months at my sewing machine, designing, making and testing all by hand. A year later, I'm proud to introduce to you the Cord Roll.
Shane, very nicely done. So, he was going after $6,000. He's accidentally raised 26 grand, right, in pre-sales. So firstly, Shane, well done. Secondly, Shane, I just bought my own Cord Roll. So when you ship them, I look forward to getting them because I too share that incredibly annoying challenge, as does the rest of humanity, by the way. So beautiful product and really nicely done. Why crowdfunding is so incredibly valuable, guys. 3 reasons in this order. Number 1, pre-sales, which is another word for cash. It means that as an early stage entrepreneur or somebody, Shane is a great example, he's commercializing his Cord Roll. In order to do that, he needs capital. He needs capital to get his first order underway, right? Pre-sales enable him to do that before he's actually had to manufacture anything. So number 1 is it's an incredibly valuable method of generating cash early on without giving up equity, right? It's absolutely beautiful. Number 2 is customer insight. And this is, in my view, the second most important thing to cash as an early stage business, probably as any business, is customer insight. How well do you know your audience? These crowdfunding platforms, they give you a chance to test different headlines, test different copy. You'll put up a video, you'll raise sort of 4 or 5 grand with the video. You'll then produce a better video because you're now getting traction, so you test that second video. So it enters you into this direct dialogue because the most honest consumer insight you'll ever get is what are they willing to give you their credit card for? Focus groups are good, like genuinely good. Google, analytics and all that stuff is genuinely good. And I've always used all that, particularly in the startup phase of any business. However, the most honest feedback is what are they willing to pay for? So in terms of customer insight, these crowdfunding platforms are a beautiful way of doing that. And thirdly is exposure. Right, through this, they've got an existing audience, they've got existing traffic, it opens you up, right? I'm not sure how many people must have given Shane money. Well, at $45 a pop and he's raised 26K, someone do the maths, I'm not going to, but that's a lot of people, right? So, and there's probably investors scoping these things. And so now Shane has built an audience and those people have bought off him. So he now has their details. He can continue a relationship with them, which is another reason I bought it, Shane, so I can sort of follow your customer journey. So make sure that's awesome. But that, the exposure and the audience capture that comes along with crowdfunding is absolutely phenomenal. So crowdfunding is great. If you launch a crowdfunding campaign and it's unsuccessful, don't worry. If you have to do this for the first, I had zero money. I was losing money. Been in business for 11 years. First 4 or 5 years, I was losing money. Right. I used to have to get the tram. I lived with my mum at the time, which helps because I was 17, 18, 19, 20. If you are able to do it when you have less responsibility and less dependence and all of that sort of stuff, that does make it a lot easier. But I used to have to get the tram illegally because I couldn't into the city every day to market our business because I couldn't afford a tram. I could not afford a tram ticket, and so I got all day, hustling and doing whatever we would do in the city, and without eating because I couldn't afford a sandwich. But then I was able to go get a tram home illegally at the end of the day, and Mum would have dinner, right? If I wasn't still living with my mother at that point, I just would have got a part-time job. So I would have worked 2 or 3 hours a day so that I could have dinner and not much and pay rent, and I wouldn't have done much else. But that's the path, right? That is the apprenticeship we do as entrepreneurs. It's just that our apprenticeship is self-driven, it's self-initiated, it's incredibly fucking challenging, which is why so many people don't do it. So appreciate it for what it is. It'll be challenging, but enjoy it. Most of all, recognize the wisdom and the growth that you will gain from going through periods of such challenge. Either way, enjoy it, guys.
I've just actualized a wish that I dreamed as a kid. Cause I'm lining up